Hey everyone, this is Melissa, and I am the talkative introvert. So today I got another rambling episode for you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, back in episode 5, Why Am I Starting This Podcast? I did a rambling episode where basically all I did was ask myself one question and then I went with it. So no notes, no outline, no like type of agenda or anything like that. I just asked myself one question and I just basically talked the whole way through the episode. And so I wanted to do that again because I actually really liked doing that one. It was a lot of fun. It was fun not having like a structure and just going with it. In today's episode, I'm going to ask myself what's it like to be an introvert in an extrovert family. When I was younger, I was definitely an introvert, but I think I like fully became an introvert later, like maybe junior, senior year of high school and older. Um, but like I said in previous episodes, I come from a really big Filipino family, and we always got together for family events and like for our birthdays and holidays, and it was usually like this big party, and so I was always the shy kid, the quiet shy kid, the one that's like always sitting on like a parent's lap or like my aunt's lap, or you know, I stuck with the adults a lot. I did play with the other kids, and um, but I didn't like too much stimulation. Like I didn't like when it was too loud or too noisy, and when like the kids are running around. Like it's weird to think about, but like I didn't even like kids when I was a kid. So, but parents tend to like me. Like I had a good relationship with the adults because I never talked back. I was a good kid. I never got myself in trouble. I didn't really take risk. I didn't like being too loud or rambunctious. Rambunctious. For the most part, like I don't, well, obviously as a kid, you don't think like, am I an introvert and extrovert? It's not something you think about. It wasn't until probably high school that I realized that I'm really actually an introvert. Because like my freshman and sophomore year, like I just wanted to have a bunch of friends. I wanted everyone to like me. I came from a really tiny middle school where like so my class was a total of 14 kids. So there were 7 girls serving 7 guys. That was it. And then high school came and I went to a public school where it's like I don't even know. I think my graduating class was it's still kind of small, I guess, compared to other high schools, but I think 500 students in my class graduated. Yeah. And so that's a huge jump from 14 to 500. And that's just my class. That doesn't include like the other classmen. And so I remember in like freshman and sophomore year, I was like really into being friends with everyone, and I wanted to be a popular kid and I wanted everyone to like me. But then like as I got older, like as a junior and senior, and like I think as I'm developing to become who the person I am, I realized like I don't care about that. I don't care about having a lot of friends. It takes up too much energy. There's too much time invested in trying to make sure that you keep in touch with every single person. Like, if I'm trying to be friends with like 500 other people, not including other classmen, that's way too much. That is no. And so yeah, that's when I realized I was more of an introvert. And I did realize that I'm more of an introvert as I got older because I realized that I value like a smaller group of friends, like close knit best friends, which like as I'm thinking about my past, like that's always been the trend. I always had like one or two best friends and it was always just us. So when I was younger, I moved a lot. I went to a different middle school, a different elementary school almost every year. But in every time I moved to a different school, I always gravitated to like one or two best friends, and that's it. And I think the whole popularity thing and wanting to be everyone's friends and everyone wants everyone to like me, I think that's just like a typical thing you go through like in adolescence. But I really truly always wanted like or always gravitated only having a couple of best friends or like a small group of friends. And I didn't realize that until I was older that I was actually an introvert because I didn't really think about that until maybe like college. Because like started junior and senior, I kind of started to give up on trying to be friends and try to be liked, and I realized like who my real friends are and who my true friends are, and those are like the people that actually want to hang out with me for me and not because I was trying so hard for everyone to like me. But that didn't last long. I think that was mostly just freshman year and maybe a tiny bit sophomore year. Um, Anyways, but as the older I get, the more I realize how much of an introvert I actually am, and that I actually don't like being around a lot of people, and that being around a lot of people was always tiring. And it's just interesting to realize that now. Because the reason why I realized I was an introvert was because the friends I ended up keeping after high school. So high school ended. We all had like our goodbyes and blah blah blah. And I didn't keep in touch with everyone that I was friends with high school, except for just like a small portion of them. And I'm still friends with them now. And it was a very small like group. And we had a lot of similarities and a lot of the same like pet peeves and the same outlook on life, I guess. And they're all introverts. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, man, I guess I am an introvert. I guess because I really do just like my small groups. I don't like huge like gatherings and huge ragers. I mean, we did have a lot of parties, I guess. We had a lot of parties just because we were we were always the only people. So when I say we, is I'm talking about me and my husband, but at the time he was my boyfriend. We were the ones that had our own place, and we were old enough to like buy drinks and whatever. But we tend to always have the house parties, but our house parties were never like crazy. They weren't like crazy ragers and like your typical frat party that you see in movies. They were always just like chill hangouts at our place. And I remember going to an actual like high school, college, whatever type party, and I was like, I was not like having it. Like I didn't enjoy it as I thought I would, because I thought, I'm in college now. Like this would be cool and fun to experience. But like once I was actually there, I was like, yeah, I didn't really miss out. Because in high school, I didn't go to these kinds of parties. I wasn't like friends with those type of people, like the I don't know what you call them. I guess the jocks and the popular kids. Uh, I don't know if that wasn't really like a huge thing. I didn't really I don't know. I didn't see it like that in high school. Maybe other people did, but those people I wasn't friends with them. So I didn't go to those kinds of parties. And I used to think like in high school, it's like, man, maybe I should have been friends with them so I could go to these parties. But actually going to one like it, I realized like, nah, I'm good. I didn't miss out on anything. I wouldn't have had fun. It would have been really scary. I probably would have had like an anxiety attack. Like it would not have been fun for me. And I'm glad I didn't do that. Or like I'm not upset that I didn't experience that in high school, I guess. And so anyways, so yeah, we used to have parties and all that. And the biggest thing, so I know I'm not really answering the question right now, but I feel like there needs to be some like historical information as to who I am and how I realized I became an introvert, or not became, that I actually have been this whole entire time but didn't realize it until as an adult. Um, so another reason how I realized that I'm an introvert is that like family gatherings with the combination of my family and my now husband's family, um, there's a lot of family events. There's a lot of gatherings. We had to like pick between the two also. Like sometimes they'll happen at the same time. My family has we haven't had as many gatherings as we used to. Um, but so it's mostly like his family, but there's still like a gathering almost every weekend. And that's when I truly, truly understood that I am really an introvert. Because, so in my introvert types episode, we concluded that I am a social introvert. And being a social introvert doesn't mean I'm like super social. It just means I typically say no to parties and I like solitary activities. And that's become very, very true because with the combination of his family gatherings and my family gatherings and having something to do every single weekend, like with our families, became too much. Like, I was constantly tired, but I always had this like need to please people and please people in our family. And I always felt super, super, super obligated to go to these family events. And even now, like, I feel obligated to go because, yeah, we are celebrating for a reason. It's not just like going there just because, like, it's for someone's birthday or it's for Christmas or Thanksgiving or, you know, some type of holiday. So there's a reason for these gatherings. It's not like they're just having it just to have it, even though that does happen sometimes. And so I do feel obligated, but because there's so many, I'm just so tired, like so socially tired, and I have to say no. Like I just have to say no sometimes. And as an adult and like living on my own, like the older I got, the more I start to say no. And that's where this question comes from, like, what's it like to be an introvert and extrovert family? So back then, you know, yeah, I was a shy kid, whatever, blah, 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 but it didn't really affect my family as much as it does now. And that's because now I'm saying no. Like now I'm not going to events. Now I'm like taking the time to take care of myself and recharge and prepare myself for the next social event because like my meter is limited. There is a bar and there's a stopping point where I need to like just go home and just recharge and do one of my solitary hobbies. Now this leads back to the question, like, what's it like to be an introvert in an extrovert family? So the problem with being an introvert in a very extroverted family is that one, they don't understand you. They don't understand what that means. Like, when I say no to going somewhere or doing something, like, they take offense from it. Like, they think like I don't like them, or they think like I'm being rude, or I'm like not being family oriented, or like it's always a negative thing. Like it's starting to get better though. I think people are just used to it. Like at first it was pretty bad. Like people like would like question us like why wouldn't they want to go? Like what's the problem? But now I think they're just used to us doing our own thing, and they're just used to us saying no and used to us being like just being away from these events. Like they don't question it that much anymore, but they still try, which is okay. Like that's fine. Like I don't mind that they try because, you know, um, if they ask 100 times, like 10 of those times we'll probably go or something like that. Uh, we still go. It's just not all the time. And if we know there's going to be like a huge, huge gathering, because some gatherings isn't just family. Sometimes it includes like people outside, like blood relatives, like people's friends and in-laws, like other people's in-laws. And like, it's not that we don't like them, like other people's friends and in-laws or anything like that. It's just that the party ends up getting bigger and louder, and it becomes this chill, relaxed, like family gathering to this giant rager where everyone's like drunk and doing karaoke, and it just becomes from quiet to like super loud. And so when we know there's going to be more and more people, we tend to like not go. And I think that's why sometimes sometimes when we get invited to things, they tend to just say it's just going to be us. Like my husband's mom does that, is notorious for that, because I think she just notices that we don't tend to go when it's like too many people. Like she'll sometimes say like, hey, like come over for breakfast, it's just gonna be us. And I think that's kind of funny because I don't remember her having to say that before, but I think she knows now that like, I don't think she fully understands what an introvert is, but I think she knows that we're more comfortable when it's a smaller group. And so when she wants to see us, she tends to say like it's just us. It's like not like the entire family. It's just like the immediate family, like just the siblings. And it's funny because it's like, it wasn't like that before. Like she didn't say stuff like that before, but I think she's starting to get it, which is really nice. Like it's nice for people to acknowledge that and to understand that, because it is a lot. Like it's a like some of these family events are just, they're so loud and like overstimulating. And for an extrovert, that's probably like amazing and great, and that's why they have like, sorry, I'm like distracted because my dog is barking. That's probably one of the most difficult things with doing this podcast, is that he barks. And I don't know if that's something you could take out. Like, I still don't really know how to use this software. Because I'm sure there's a way to like take out background noise, right? There's gotta be. I need to Google that, or I don't know, watch some YouTube videos. But every time he barks, I have to like stop, and then I forget what I'm talking about. And now I'm like off to a different tangent. Anyways, so back to the question. So what's it like to be an introvert in an extrovert family? Like I said, it does have its negative impact, or negative, I don't know what you want to call it. But it's difficult because people don't understand why we say no, and people get upset. Sometimes people get hurt. And hopefully, if anyone in our family is listening to this, I hope they know that it doesn't mean anything bad. Like, we don't purposely like not go to something just to hurt someone. Like, that is never our intent. Our intent is never to like, you know, not go because we don't like them anymore. Or like it's not typically negative when we don't go. It's just that we need a break. Because so nowadays, majority of family gatherings are with my husband's family. So I won't go into like why my family doesn't really see each other anymore. It's just there's like, I don't know, stuff that happened in the past, and so we don't have big family gatherings anymore. And it's mostly just my husband's family that I have to go to gatherings for now. And it's really difficult because there's so many. There's so many gatherings. And they're like an all-day event too. Like they'll start at like, I don't know, sometimes they start later, like at 5, but sometimes it's like even earlier. And then they won't end till like 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. They're like all day gatherings. There is no, like, if you ever get an invitation from, sorry, he's barking again. But if you ever get an invitation from a Filipino family, and I've noticed this for like all my Filipino friends and family, like not just my family and not just my husband's family, but there's no end time. Do you ever notice that? There's no end time. And I don't know if that's specific to Filipinos, but that's just what I know, because I'm Filipino. But people who are either Filipino or have like similar cultures, there's no end time. So they're not expecting you to leave at any specific time. Because I know there's some parties, well, they'll put like a 3 to 7, and at 7 it's expected of you to leave. And that, I remember I think there's like one party that I went to and that happened, and I was just, my mind was blown. I was like, you can have an end time? Why don't we have end times? But yeah, anyways, so these parties are all day, all night, sometimes into the following day. Sometimes people sleep over, and it becomes a 2-day thing. So it's a lot of social interactions. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot just thinking about it. And it's so when that happens, and if it's happening every weekend, like I can't do it. It's too much. And like I have a life too, like during the week I work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And when I come home, it's, we're making dinner, we're eating dinner, and then we're relaxing until we have to go to bed so we could go to work. So during the week, there's typically not a lot of time to do like our hobbies or just do other things. And so our weekends are very precious because that's our time. And my husband doesn't always get to have a weekend because sometimes he works weekends. So really, we're very limited on like how much free time we have, which is really sucky. So if this podcast ever goes big, I'm going to be forever grateful for you guys because it'd be amazing to not have to do like an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like I wouldn't mind if I did like part-time at my work, if I started getting money for this podcast. Like that would be awesome too. Like I could totally do that. Anyways. So yeah. Why was I getting at? See, this is what happens when I'm doing a rambling episode. I don't remember what I was talking about because I'm trying not to like cut anything. I just want it to be completely just natural, live, as little editing as possible. Anyways, so, I remember. So yeah, it's not that we don't like people or don't like our family members, or we are not doing it to hurt anybody. It's just that we need to recharge because there's just so many of it and it's a lot. And it's not just like I said, there's no end time. It's not like it's just a 3-hour thing and then we can recharge. It's like it'll last through the end of the night and sometimes the next day. And I mean, we stopped staying super late too. We'll go home, and we have a valid excuse too because we have a dog, and we don't bring him to these events because it's pretty funny because he's kind of an introvert too. Like he doesn't like, and I don't know, maybe because the way we raised him, because we're not super loud people and we don't play super loud music. Like we play music when we play podcasts, like when we're cooking dinner or whatever, and we watch TV obviously, but it's not loud. Like it's never loud. It's just at the right volume that you can hear it properly. Like it's not like super, super loud. And so I think he's just used to that because our dog doesn't like really loud music and he doesn't like too much stimulation. Like he's a corgi, so he's very vocal. So if someone's talking too loud, he'll like bark at them. And I think it's just like his way of telling them to like lower your voice. And then if it's like people are moving around too much or like getting too rowdy, like when we actually have people over, which is very rare, and it gets too rowdy, he doesn't like it. Or like if it's too much for him, he'll just go into the room and then go to sleep. Like he won't stay in the living room with everybody, which is pretty funny because that's basically us. But yeah, so it is difficult being an introvert in an extrovert family. It's hard to explain to them why we don't go, and I really hope they understand. Like, it's not that we don't like them or anything like that. It's just a lot, and it's a lot of stimulation, and it's very tiring, and sometimes it's stressful, and sometimes like if you do something too often that stresses you out, like that's not very great for your mental health either. So it is difficult. It's very difficult, and it's difficult to have other people understand that. And I wish they would I wish they'd understand. I think it'd make our life easier if they just understood. But for the most part, I think they're getting used to it. It's so I've been with my husband. So we've only been married for a year, but we've been together for like 13 years. Yeah. It's been 13, it's 2020, yeah, 13 years. And so I think they're just used to it now. So it does get easier. Um, it has been getting easier as we get older because they're used to us just being us, and they're used to us saying no, and they're used to us like going to some but not going to others, and we're not trying to pick and choose. It's just whatever we're ready for, I guess. So that's been getting better, but you can still tell that they still don't get it. They're used to because they're used to they accept us for us, but they still don't understand why. And that's not just my husband's family, that's just like everybody in general. Because I'll have family members who'll just they'll basically be nagging us like, come on, please, can you go? Can you go? Come on, why not? They'll do that, and it's very frustrating because it's like, just accept our no. just just be okay with our no answer. When you don't accept our no answer, it makes it really difficult for us, or it makes it really difficult for an introvert because, like, one, we don't want to because we're socially exhausted, and two, like, it makes us feel guilty. It makes us feel really bad for not doing something. And this kind of, I think I talked about like in my pet peeves episode, but like, it sucks to feel bad because you don't want to do something and you have a valid reason for it. Like, you're just tired and you need to take a break. And it sucks that, like, when people just can't take your no answer, or they like get really upset with you when you say no, because we don't want to upset you, but we also need to take care of ourselves too. Like, I can't please everybody. And so, yeah. So this question's very it's difficult to answer because I don't want to like offend my family members assuming that they're listening, but I think it's a good way to help them understand like why we say no. Like, I hope they understand that it's not that we don't like them, and it's not that we, don't appreciate them or anything like that. Like, we don't mean any disrespect, but I hope they understand like it's just because we're tired and because we need time to uh, recharge, and there's also just way too many. Like, man, like, you guys, I mean, that's great though. Obviously, that's great. Like, I love the fact that his family loves each other and loves being around each other so much that they want to hang out every weekend. Like, that's kind of, in my experience, really rare. Like, you don't see, I mean, okay, I can't speak for other people, but in my experience, I don't always see people, like families who really get along and who really love each other so much that they want to hang out every weekend. Like, I totally admire that, and I think that's awesome, and I think that's great. Like, obviously there's some family drama, and that's like inevitable. Like, that just happens, like, especially like spending so much time together, that happens. But like, besides the family drama that happens every once in a while, they still like will forgive each other, and they still love each other, and they still like want to like legit hang out with each other and spend time with each other like almost every weekend, if not every weekend. And I think that's truly amazing, because it doesn't happen all the time, and it's not like, not every family is like that. But with that said, every weekend, really? Like, it's so much. Like, don't you guys want a break from each other? And that's probably just my introvert nature talking. But man, I need a break. And I need a break from like all of that. But I do enjoy Like when my husband's mom says, like, come have breakfast with us and it's just us, I really do enjoy that. When it's just like my husband, like maybe his like sister, and his mom's like they're like his sisters and like just our smaller group. I really enjoy that because it's like it's more intimate. Like we can actually talk to each other and have a really good conversation and really catch up. But when it's like family gatherings, most of the time people are drinking or they're doing karaoke or playing loud music, and you don't really get that one-on-one time with people, and you don't get that like those like deep conversations with people and like really trying to catch up because usually it's too loud and it's mostly like we're doing some activity that's like I don't know, that's more like it's a fun activity, but it's not we're not like talking to each other, we're not having a conversation, we're not like getting to know each other or catching up with each other or anything like that. um when we have these big group parties, sorry, God. Okay, so I really do enjoy when we have just breakfast with like his mom or having like dinner with just like his sister's family or um just yeah, like these small intimate like gatherings where we can just have a real conversation and it's not just loud music in our ear and we can't hear anything but like the bass and like someone singing karaoke. I really appreciate those moments and I appreciate like doing that, and that makes me excited to go see them. And so when we have these smaller ones, because then I can actually have a real conversation with someone, and it's more meaningful, in my opinion, than um, than the big parties. And it'd be nice to like if they got if it'd be nice if they wanted more like that. like like we've like gone to so my husband's uncle, he is the one that usually is like the party house and like everyone goes there for parties and whatnot, and there's always free alcohol and food. um and there's times where we've gone to his place just like on a weekday, like on a weeknight, like there's like a couple of times where he needed help around the house and my husband like went to go help him, and it was just like my uncle or our uncle, aunt, and then their two kids, which is like our age, Brandon's cousins, and those were fun. Like we would just drink a beer like in the backyard and talk and just like have that intimate like conversation, and those are fun, and I value those moments because like as much as parties I guess are fun. I mean, okay, they're fun, but not always. Like, I don't, like, I mentioned this in previous episodes, I don't drink that much anymore. Not like I did in college. Like, I rarely ever drink, honestly. Like, I don't remember the last time I was, like, super drunk. I think maybe New Year's, or maybe my wedding party. Anyways, I really do value those, like, one-on-one moments or those small gatherings, those small intimate gatherings where we can just talk and have like actual conversations. And those are very rare. Like we don't get a whole lot of that. It's usually like or when we do get it, it'll start off small and then it'll become a bigger thing. Like I remember one weekend we were helping my husband's uncle with something around the house, and it started off with just us, you know, like the six of us. So like his cousins, me and my husband, and then uncle and aunt. But then we were having a lot of fun, but then they wanted to like invite other people because we're having so much fun. Like that's like the good and bad thing about them. Like the good thing about them is that they want, when they're happy and having fun, they want to share that happiness and joy with everybody else in the family. And I think that's very sweet, and I do love that about them. But then it's also bad because we went from like a small intimate gathering to now this huge party where all the other aunts and uncles and in-laws and like significant others and siblings and just like everybody else then gets included, and it becomes a huge party. So it went from an intimate gathering to a party. And like I get why they do that, and I adore them for that, but then it kind of I don't want to say it ruins it for us because that sounds really mean, but essentially it does ruin it for us because now we're tired and now we just want to leave. That sounds sad. And but it's just so exhausting. Like it kind of sucks because like it started off great and I loved it and I adore those moments. But like I said, it's rare. When it does happen, sometimes it becomes something bigger than it was, and I look forward to those moments, and I wish we had more of those, and I wish we had more small intimate gatherings, and like I wish we had turns with everybody like doing that. Like it'd be nice to really get to know some people. Like there's some people in our family that I don't really know. Like I know them obviously, like I've known them for years and years, but I don't know them because the only time we see them is at a party, and we don't get to have like that intimate conversation with them, and so I don't actually know them, and they don't know me, and that kind of sucks too, because like we're family, but we don't actually know each other, like know each other, and that's a little sucky, but it is what it is, I guess. That's kind of like the downside of having an extrovert family. Like the good and sweet and amazing part of like an extrovert family is that when they're happy, they want others to be happy and they want to share the happiness with others, and they want everyone to be included in that happiness and like the joy that they're having. But then we miss out on those like little intimate conversations where we actually like sit down and really really get to know each other. Like there's very few people in my family and both our families that I feel actually know me for who I am, like who I really am. And that's kind of what happens when you end up with like such an extroverted family. It's because they like gain energy from having these big groups, but then you don't have these small conversations sometimes. But so yeah, I mean, not to end it on a bad note, I guess. Jeez. Because I still really like I said, I adore that about people. I adore that they want to share the happiness. They want to spread the love. And I really, really love that. There's the obvious like negative points of being an introvert and an extrovert family, but then there's also those positives. Like I said, like the the biggest positive thing is the fact that I love that they love each other, and I love that they when they're happy and they're having fun and they like it's such a joyous time that they just want to share that with everybody, and they want everyone to feel the same thing that they're feeling. And I think that's like probably the biggest positive thing. I know I list a lot of negative things, but that one definitely is like something that's always stuck out, and I've always adored that. So yeah, I that's a long-winded explanation to my answer. So I just looked back. So in episode 5, I talk about like how I looked away from the computer and just like started talking. And I just looked back. So I did the same thing. I just looked back and I realized I'm already at like 40 minutes. So hopefully that was an interesting listen. And if you like it, please follow me on social media. Let me know what other rambling discussion topics, like what questions I should ask myself and like ramble about. Um, I'll think of something because I really do like doing these episodes, like the no structure, no outline, no agenda type deal, which is like kind of weird for me because I'm not like that normally. I think I mentioned like in the intro, like I have a very type A personality. And if you don't know what type A personality is, don't worry. I'm going to do an episode about it. It's not specific to introverts, I don't think. Because there's the type A and type B personalities. And I'll get into that in a different episode. So it is a little weird for me to like go unscripted and unoutlined, if you will. But this has been fun. So again, if you like this, please follow me on social media. I'll link it in the description. Um, let's start a conversation. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Are you an introvert and an extrovert family? Like, how do you deal with it? Like, what are the big negatives and the big positives from that? Like, what do you love and hate about your family? I guess. Doesn't have to be that intimate. Anyways, thanks guys for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode.